Hey guys, what's up? It's Coach Carroll. Welcome to another episode of the Sales Factory. Today in the factory, I'm thrilled to welcome the one, the only, Laurie Kemp, who is actually right here in our own backyard. She is the co-founder and owner of Momentum Title Agency, a trusted title and closing service provider in the Kentucky and Indiana real estate markets. With over 25 years of legal experience and a background as a licensed attorney in both Indiana and Kentucky, Laurie brings a remarkable depth of knowledge to the real estate and title industry. Laurie and her husband, Mike, founded Momentum Title in 2018. We might get a little clarification on that. They've been building this company, and they're known for their expert legal guidance, seamless closings, and a strong focus on ethical service and community commitment. Beyond her professional achievements, Laurie is deeply involved in servant leadership and numerous philanthropic efforts throughout Southern Indiana and Louisville alike. Laurie, thanks for coming on to the Sales Factory today.
Thanks for having me. And man, I think I want you to be my hype man everywhere I go.
I get that a lot when I read these intros. So shout out for the team for building an awesome intro. And we use Perplexity AI. So if you guys aren't checking out Perplexity, great tool for that. So Laurie, let's talk a little bit about your background. 25 years is a fun journey. How did you get started, and where are you at today? And walk us through that as we start this show.
Right. Well, I probably have to came down to Louisville for law school, really with no intention of staying here. I was from the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area and thought I was heading back there. Came to University of Louisville, Brandeis School of Law, ended up meeting my husband there. And we have stayed here and love the Louisville metro area. So we've been here ever since. So both my husband and I are attorneys. I always laugh and say attorneys have to marry other attorneys because nobody else will have us. But we started out, I started out in a law firm practice originally, had a focus on corporate and employment law, and was kind of running that path, was a partner in a large law firm over in Louisville. And my husband in late 99, early 2000, actually left private practice and opened what was then Kemp Title Agency. He had a big interest in that, being an entrepreneur, and opened that. So I helped support him in the business, but I stayed kind of in that corporate area, litigator, employment law. And in 2017, we had a chance to open up another location. We've been very focused with our title companies, and we like to be in buildings where there are realtors, where there are lenders, kind of make it a one-stop shop. And we have that in Louisville and in New Albany, and we got a chance to do that in Jeffersonville here, where I'm sitting now. And we kind of had some conversations, and I said, I think it's time for me to come on in and join the family business. So we rebranded from Kemp Title to Momentum Title, and opened up our new location effective January 1 of 2018. And I've been in it ever since. So we run this, we've grown, we've got 3 staffed offices and 2 additional satellite offices, and recently acquired some offices up in the Indianapolis area. But that's a longer story. But that was kind of my path to get here. So I bring maybe a little more depth and experience than just the real estate side of things. Bring some litigation, employment, and other legal, and we try to leverage that and really partner with our clients and offer them some additional services and support that we can do with that.
Nice. Love it. You must have got my show notes, because I was going to ask you about your recent acquisition of Futura Title and Escrow, I believe, correct?
Well, Futura is actually a parent for us now, but we acquired Hawker Law
Okay.
Group out of Indianapolis. So they are in the Indianapolis area, really run from Greenwood up to about Lafayette. So we
Okay.
acquired them about 5 months ago now. So really doubled our footprint here in the Indiana office. So Hawker has all rebranded, is now Momentum Title. In fact, my husband's been up in Indy the last 2 days. Mike's works with them. So they were a great fit and complement. So really helped us to extend that footprint and offer services really now throughout, a little bit further north, so all of central and southern Indiana.
Love it. Well, congratulations on the recent acquisition and expansion. Um, I'm curious, what do you see as far as the real estate market right now? We hear about rate changes. I've had some agents on that we've done episodes with, but I'm curious what you guys are seeing from the title side of things, and maybe you could kind of give us a what's happening, little update here briefly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sure not 20 and 21, I'll tell you that. uh, I don't think we'll ever see those rates again. I don't think we're going to see rates in the twos. And
Probably rightfully so, though, right? I mean, the feast or famine, like sharks in the water environment we are. Like, to me, I'm surprised more real estate agents didn't get dragged into court. Maybe it's just not happened yet. Like when you had people saying, "Oh, you need to waive an inspection, otherwise you're going to lose this house." I'm like, wait, what? Which team are you playing on here, right? So, like, maybe for good reason we should never go back to 2021. But I digress.
I 100% agree. I mean, believe me, we were the busiest that we have been in 20 years. It was fabulous for the business, but I can't tell you how many times I would sit down at a closing and the buyer had not seen the house until that day. They were putting in offers above, the asking price, sight unseen. And yeah, you were talking about waiving inspections, and I got so many phone calls, 22 and 23. Well, we found out there's a leak, there's this, there's that. And I would pull up their paperwork and I'm like, I'm looking at your purchase agreement and you accepted it as is and waived all inspections. So I don't think you're going to have a lot of recourse to go back. So no, I'm with you. I don't think rates ever should have gotten that low. And I don't think we'll get back there. I would love for us to see, you know, a great rate is a five. If we could get them down in the fives, maybe we'll dip into a low four, but I think fives are really where we'll see them go. And I think that'll be great for the market. I will say we are fortunate here in this region. And it's one of the reasons I mentioned Futura that actually was attracted to us. They're a Pacific Northwest company, but they see this region of the country is really growing. We may not have those massive peaks that you've got on the coasts, but we also don't have the valleys. We stay extremely steady here. I'm very involved in the chambers around here, especially one Southern Indiana. I'm past board chair and have been on the economic development committee. When you see the growth that's happening throughout this region, everything that's happening at River Ridge, the number of new jobs that are coming in at really high paying rates. But the cost of living here is still phenomenal. So we continue to see people relocate here. I think one of the things that COVID did was allowed people to work remotely and really kind of take in where they live and where they want to be. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the spot where you work. And I think quality of life means a lot. And I think that Louisville Metro offers that great balance, a great quality of life. So I'm still very bullish on the real estate market here. I think inventory remains low when you look at our volume of listed houses, how many months we actually have. It is still extremely low historically, but if we can get those rates to drop a little bit, I think it will loosen up. We're definitely seeing more builders taking action now. Shoot, we've got a lot of the national builders that weren't building in this area that are now coming in. I mean, this was historically a place where it was primarily local builders, and now we've got some of the largest builders in the country coming in here to build inventory because the demand is here and because the price points are still so much better, stronger than they are in many other markets. So
That's something, Lori. That's something that I noticed That's something that I noticed when I moved down here from Indianapolis. I was born and raised in Indianapolis. My parents got divorced when I was 15, and I moved to Kentucky with my mom. As I started my exterior, I started in the lawn care business out of high school, sold that after growing it to about 3 million in revenue, transitioned into power wash and window cleaning. And one of the things I quickly noticed about Louisville was that there was not these like large pockets of vinyl siding homes like I would see in Indianapolis. Growing up there, I mean, subdivisions just would go up every year, it seemed like. And for whatever reason, it was like the Louisville market just was untouched. Now, I've heard different stories, not being from here. I'm a member of the Pendennis Club. So, yeah, some of those old guys around the round table down there, it's like, the old 4 or 5 families, have had their thumb on the lid, and that's why we haven't grown, et cetera, et cetera. And, for me, it's been wild to see, I've got a farm out in Henry County in Smithfield. So I'm just on the edge of Oldham County to see the boom that has happened in Oldham County. And for us, for the past 15 years, we've primarily washed brick homes. And so we go in, we wash the fascia and the soffit and maybe a little bit of siding in some different areas. But now you are seeing the D.R. Hortons, the Pulte's, the big fish builders. Like they're coming in and they're building large sets of homes that are vinyl siding in that 250 to 400 range. And yeah, I mean, it's been wild to see that happen. And I wonder how much of that was sparked by the rates, right? Because like I don't really think that was happening before 2020. Maybe you could correct me on that if I'm wrong. But also like how much of that was sparked because there is just like the age of the housing here. It's very aged inventory, meaning it's a lot of older homes that you've got to fix up. So I'd be curious your take on that.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Coach Carroll, and I want to interrupt this podcast real quick to make sure you guys are getting your copy of the Hunter Head Game. You can go to thehunterheadgame.com and register for your copy. Everyone that registers will get a free copy of the audiobook. It doesn't cost me anything to get that out to you, so it's one of the easiest ways for me to give back to the entrepreneur community. This book is really focused on the last 10 years of my life and all the lessons that I've learned along the way being an entrepreneur. I truly believe that the old world rewarded obedience, and we're in a new world that demands killer instincts. As we continue to see layoffs and we continue to see economic changes happen, the creator economy, the gig economy, I think this book will open your eyes and give you some much needed skills and a refresher. Even if you're an apex hunter already, I think there's some stuff in here that you could take away to sharpen your blade. So go to thehunterheadgame.com and pre-register for your copy. Let's get back to the episode.
I think you're correct. I think when rates loosened up, and again, I think um, rates loosened up and you had a lot of people that wanted to buy first time homes that couldn't get into the market because so many of those, you know, brick houses, maybe they're a 3.2 or a 4.3 or something. No way you could get in on those price points. So you couldn't do it. Plus, you had a lot of younger buyers. I did a closing today. Both buyers were born in 2006. And I had to sit there and I'm like, you are 19 years old buying a house. I mean, kudos to you. But which is amazing for them to do. But we did see a lot of first time home buyers coming in, a lot of good products that came in from both banks and from Kentucky Housing and Indiana Housing to really boost given DAPs, given down payment assistance options out there where you needed to get homes that were at the right price point. And these younger builders, they don't, or younger buyers, they didn't necessarily want a fixer upper. They wanted home warranty and everything new and done. And to get new and done when you're working with some of, the customs, you're in a 400, 500, plus. So you got to fall into that range. And I also think, again, it was that attraction where we saw folks moving, leaving those huge cities, leaving the big cities, leaving the coast, and coming in looking more at quality of life, at school systems, at all of those things. I mean, even from Jefferson County coming over to Southern Indiana, we still see that because average costs for housing in Southern Indiana is still below what average cost is in Jefferson County. And shoot, if you go out to Oldham or some of the others, it raises even more. And we
Yeah.
finally got that bridge built a few years back, and I think people have realized it's not as big of a hurdle or risk as folks thought, and that toll maybe is worth it. But you can get around. So I see a lot of folks moving from the Kentucky side over here because you can get a little more land and you can get a little more house for the dollars.
Yeah.
Some of the issues JCPS has had in the past, hopefully they're on track now, doing well with some new leadership. But school systems come into play too, and we saw some relocations happening there. So
Yeah, I'll tell you, I kicked myself in the butt. So I've got, it's funny, you got your buyers were born in '06. I graduated high school in '07. So I'm just like, geez, oh Pete, man.
I don't want to talk when I graduated. You already said I got 25 years of legal experience. So
Well, so I've got about 70 rental units in the west end of Louisville that are all Section 8, and I remember looking at a small little like duplex type subdivision. I want to say it was 6 buildings, duplexes, so it was 12 units, and it was in Jeffersonville before the bridge came in. And I remember when I looked at the property, I was like, I don't know, man, you've got this priced a little high. And he's like, well, that's because that bridge is coming. I was like, yeah, they've been saying that bridge is coming for a long time. And I like look back now, I'm like, I'm kicking myself in the ass because I could have probably doubled or tripled my money on that property once that bridge goes in, because what my brother lives in Jeffersonville, and I mean that thing has just blown up. They've built so much over there. It's amazing to see. So, hopefully we never get back to those COVID numbers. That was a feeding frenzy. That was crazy. I also think that I'm not. Most of the times you meet business guys, they're like, oh, a home's not an asset. It's an asset for the bank. The Robert Kiyosaki method. There's a lot of that. I just don't agree with that. The only time I do agree with that is if you're going to be moving in the next like 6 to 12 months, right? If you're going to be moving like in the next 12 months, 18 months, 6 months, you should probably rent, not buy. And for me, my very first home I bought when I was 21, I used the Kentucky like homestead home buyer welcome home program. It was like, $8,000 down payment assistant, which allowed me to get into this house. And I mean, I paid this was in Carroll County, and so I'll put that reference because it's cheaper out there. It was cheaper out there, but I paid $32,000.
Perry Park in Carrollton, I know that area.
Yeah, and so I paid $32,000 for this house. I remodeled it. I probably, all said and done, put maybe 10 grand in it. And when I moved out, I sold it for almost 80 grand. And so, if you live in a house for more than 2 years, if you don't know this, you get capital gains tax waived on it, so you don't pay any taxes on your gain up to a certain threshold. And I think it's one of the easiest ways for young people to compound their net worth, especially if you can really stick to the plan with the FHA program out now, where you can buy the fourplex with 5% down. Dude, I would do that and just plan for the next 10 years. If you're 20, just do that. And from 20 to 30, you're going to move every 2 years and just keep clicking away at that program, because to me, that's an easy way to stack some wealth, and you put you in a really good spot by the time you're 50 or 60 years old. What do you guys see that people using strategies like that?
I couldn't agree with you more. Especially again in this region, look at housing values. We've not had those crashes with property declines. Go down to the assessor's offices, the PVA, and pull and look at those property values. Look at what houses were assessed at, and I mean even 2020 to now. The differences are remarkable. And you're talking about capital gains with the 2 years. That's what I tell people. It's, you got to live in it 2 of the last 5 years. So even if you don't want to move every 2 years, you buy it, rent it out. I mean, if you live in it for, as long as you've lived in it for at least 2 of the last 5 years, so you can live in it for 2 years and then rent it out for 3 years before you sell it, still avoid those gains. Or maybe you decide at that point, you know what, maybe I don't have to sell it. Or, and there's so many options now. 1031 exchanges, we're seeing a lot more people look at those to push that tax obligations. They've loosened.
Laurie, let's talk about those. Let's talk about that 1031 exchange. I want to double click on that one because it's a tool I've used in the past, and I think a lot of people that want to invest in real estate, they don't realize that. But that's why you see a lot of these big apartment complexes transact so often, right? Like there's some local guy, NTS is a local developer. They're going to buy and hold their stuff, but like you'll see a lot of these apartment complexes that get built. A couple years later, they're sold. A couple years later, there's a new owner. A couple years later, there's a new owner. Talk about a 1031 exchange and how investors use that tool.
Sure. So, like we were talking about, you're going to have capital gains anytime it wasn't a principal residence you owned and lived in at least 2 of the last 5 years. And there's some caps for an individual. It's 250 for a married couple. It's 500. But if it was always been investment property, you're going to get hit with capital gains. And depending on how much you made and how much you're showing on your tax return, that can be a pretty high number, a percentage that you're paying. So you've got the advantage with a 1031 exchange. You're basically delaying paying those capital gains. So you're pushing it off. So what you're doing is saying, I'm going to sell this property, but you work with what's called a 1031 intermediary. You've got to get with them ahead of time. And basically, when you sell, the proceeds from the sale actually go to your third party intermediary. So they go to that 1031 exchange partner that you're working with. They hold them. You've got some time parameters where you have to identify a like property. And the IRS used to have much more stringent requirements on what a like property was going to be, but they have dramatically loosened those. So, you can go now from a single family to a multiplex and still be fine. It can be a commercial building and vacant land that you're going to develop. So there's like properties really been loosened. But there are time frames. So you want to do your research. You want to work with a good third party intermediary. Make sure the title company you're working with knows, because you don't want that money to ever hit your account. When you sell the property, that 1031, the third party intermediary holds that for you. You've identified that like property, and then you're going to close. Usually it's about a 6-month window where you're going to close on that new property. The 1031, the intermediary, is going to then get your money over for the purchase. And then you're pushing those gains. So then when you sell that property, you can do another 1031 and keep pushing it out. At some point when you stop doing that, you'll have some gains on that one. But in the meantime, you've held these assets, and hopefully you've made tremendous amounts of money that haven't been taxed, and you've held onto your money a whole lot more. So we are seeing more and more of the 1031s come through. I think it's a great tool. It's a great resource. Just did a training recently. We did 2 different ones. We did one for first-time home buyers, and then we did one for investors. So it makes a lot of sense, whether you're going to be a kind of a fix and flipper, or you're going to be you're going to hold on to it. It's still something you should have in your pocket and get the info on.
Yeah, I call it the federal government play. You just keep kicking the tax bill down the road, right? You could do exactly what the guys in Washington do. So it's a great tool. So I appreciate you.
One more extension to the budget. We'll just sign one more, or we'll push that out.
Yeah, I may be a bit partial to those topics. Congressman Massey's our congressman out in Henry County. So, he's what did he say? He said, this is the best political theater I've ever seen in my life, right? It's like we manufacture these arguments like we're not going to do anything. And then lo and behold, in the last hour, they passed the extension. And I think I read somewhere the other day, like we haven't passed an actual, like all 12 appropriation bills or 13, however many appropriation bills there are, like all the appropriation bills in a full-blown budget since like 2002 or something crazy. Like it's keep doing these continuing resolutions and kicking the can down the road. So who knows? Let's dive. I've got some questions here for you too. I've got a lot of real estate agents that follow the podcast. What's some things that you see, like, and even maybe if someone is not a real estate agent, what's things that they need to be looking at during the closing process to make things go smoothly, or where you see that like can really cause some problems, or that you got like a horror story that you could share that you've seen in the past of like, man, they really messed this one up, and here's what not to do if you want to make sure your closing goes smoothly.
Communication's always the main thing that we want to see. But making sure that you're keeping all the parties. You've got a buyer, a seller, you've got agents, you've got a lender, you've got a title company, there's an appraiser, there's a home inspector, so you've got lots of moving parts. We as a title agency, we're not involved typically from day one. There's a lot of things that are happening. There's, offers and counter offers till it gets accepted. They're getting pre-approved or approvals from a lender. Usually a lender's not sending it to us until after there's been an appraisal that's come back. So they make sure it's going to go. So then we get it. But we get that first purchase agreement. We don't always know that things are changing. So I always tell agents, a couple things you need to remember. Know who your client is. Okay. And you may say, well, that's the most basic thing in the world, but it's not. Bob might be your client, but he's selling his deceased mom's property. So is he the personal representative? Is he the executor of the estate? Does he have the authority to sign? Did they even open an estate? Or is Bob signing everything, but then he informs us at closing, oh, I'm buying this in my LLC, or I want this to go in my trust. Well, you signed the purchase agreement by yourself. Or we want to add, I want my wife on title. I want my kid on title. I want my business. These are things we need to know throughout the process. Can we fix them at table? Sometimes, yes. Sometimes it's going to take some time, but there's a lot of things that we do as a title company. We're running judgment searches on everybody that's involved. We're doing a minimum of a 30-year title exam. Depending on the acreage, it might be 50 or 100 years. There are easements, there are oil and gas leases that are out there. If it's an investment property, letting us know, are there leases that are in place? Do we need to prorate the rents between the parties? There's lots and lots of things. We've had people try to use a power of attorney for somebody that died. We don't need to open an estate. I've got a power of attorney. Well, that power of attorney, it died with her. I'm sorry, but we can't use that power of attorney. We're going to need an estate opened. So communication, getting it to us. Mike's my husband. I told you, we like to be in with real estate agents. Even when I was in private practice, a huge piece of what I did was education, advice and counsel. I love to do that. Litigation, it was a ton of fun. I love the trial, don't get me wrong. But I would much rather get in front with the client, help them be proactive and avoid the problems. And it's the exact same way. What I tell my loan officers, my agents that we work with, the investors, call me ahead of time. Talk to me about what's going on. You're going to a listing appointment and you don't know who needs to sign, the listing agreement, or you're not sure. They owned it with their brother and their brother died. Do they own it by themselves, or do the kids own it? Who owns it? Call me. Let's talk through this. I would rather invest 30 minutes of time early on and help you with it than us scrambling, because by the time we get a title order in and we've got to get a title exam done and get payoffs and work with the lender, and people are wanting to close 10 days after we've got it, it's a lot of things to happen. And they forget we didn't have it for the last 3 weeks when y'all had it. So call us and let us talk you through. I know sometimes, we're not going to get all the deals. We try. We're not going to get them all. And sometimes the agents don't know, especially when it's a listing agent. They might say, well, I didn't want to bother you with this because I don't know where it's going to go. I don't care. We're here to partner, to support our agents. We're all about relationships. You know that. It's what we do. So I may not get this deal, but you'll remember me for the next one. But yeah, just reach out. Let us help maneuver you through these and be proactive. We've got 5 attorneys on staff. So there's my husband and I. We've got 3 other attorneys. We are all licensed in Kentucky. 4 of us are licensed in Indiana as well. So virtually any office you go to, anytime you call, you're going to be able to get one of us on the phone to help you work through those issues. You find out your client's leaving the country. I was here on Sunday getting a power of attorney signed because the person had to leave to go out of the country and they don't know when they'll be back, and it's probably going to close. I said, I'll drive down, I'll get it drafted, come in, meet with me on Sunday. We will help you get those things done.
I love it. I love it. Can we touch on the litigation thing? I'm curious, like, what was your favorite case you ever litigated? Because I'm a college dropout. I would have never made it through enough 4 years and then law school on top of it. But I have a newfound appreciation because with AI, I mean, you can literally talk to these things, and it will tell you information and things that are out there that my favorite thing about AI is like if you don't know what you don't know, you can ask it and like it will tell you things and you can deep dive with it. So like I'm like maybe if I had AI, maybe I could become an attorney. But I know all the attorneys are cringing that listen to this. But what was
I suspect you could have been a litigator. You would have had to get through law school, but I suspect if you got through that, you would have been fine because it's just a lot of thinking on your feet. There's a little performance art that goes with it too.
that's sales, right? I mean, sales is persuasion and performance art at the highest level. And so I think, all you're trying to do as a litigator is, sell the judge that you're right and the other one's wrong, right? So like what's maybe one of your favorite war stories that you can share with the audience on that?
Well, yeah, so I did a lot of employment work. So I had a lot of harassment and discrimination. I'll tell one secret that I shouldn't, don't judge me for it. But
Oh, that's going to be, I got to tell the team, we'll clip that one for the viral. I'll tell one secret that I shouldn't. That'll be on the clip at the beginning. That'll hook them in, Lori.
that's great. But no, so I was a female attorney coming up in what was still, I mean, I graduated from law school in the mid 90s. It was still like and I practiced in Eastern, all of Kentucky. So I spent some time in Eastern Kentucky, and I got scolded one time by a judge. He asked me to stay after. I was there to argue a motion, and he asked me to stay after. And I approached him afterwards and I said, Your Honor, is something wrong? And he said, Well, I expect you the next time you're in my courtroom to dress appropriately. And I was in slacks and a blouse and a jacket. And I said, Your Honor, I apologize. I meant no disrespect. What's wrong? He had said, I expect when women come in my courtroom, they are in a skirt or a dress, and men will be in suit and ties. I said, Yes, Your Honor, I will remember that. So so I did have to experience some of that. I'd be arguing and I would get the other attorney would, try to overtalk me. And the one judge that was very protective of me said, Would you just let the little lawyer lady talk? And so those things. So I decided I would work. Um, Somehow I would try to maneuver that to my advantage. So I did a lot of jury trials. Most of mine were jury trials, so in front of the jury. So if you could select, you do your voir dire, you'd select your jury, and I would get a good sense who was going to be on there and if they were going to like me. Well, I may have told four different juries that it was my first trial. I'd say, now listen, because you get a chance to talk to them, and I'd say, this is my client, and I don't. I'm not going to be perfect at this. This other attorney, he's been practicing for 35 years and he's probably tried 100 trials. Now, this is my first trial. Please do not hold that against my client if I misstep or say something. And you could just see, I would always rope a couple of them and I would know which jurors I had. So I might have, yeah.
I love that. So I got a similar story. I delivered my senior year of high school when I started my lawn care business. I would deliver pizzas on the weekends on like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because that's when it was busiest for Snappy Tomato. And I would go up and I would deliver the pizza, and I'd say, Hey, how you doing tonight? They'd be like, Oh, I'm doing good. How are you? And I'm pulling the pizza out. I'm like, Oh, I'm doing good. Other than it's my birthday, I'm working on my birthday. They're like, Oh, well, here, take a little extra. It's like, I was always worried I was going to show up to somebody and they'd be like, Hey, you said it was your birthday last month, man. So, but in those beginning years, man, you got to get your win however you can get it. So I feel you on that, Laurie. Very cool. Well, I love a good old war story. So let's talk about.
I will say employment litigation. I was always dumbfounded. You can't make some of that stuff up. It's still. I will tell one. It might be a little racy. You can decide if you need to edit it out. But I got the phone call that I needed to go in, do a harassment investigation for a company, and it had to do with holiday gifts that the president, CEO of the company, had given to his all-female office staff. Well, he had given them a nice little bonus, but he put it in a card, and he made the card personally. It was a picture of himself, in a little red Speedo that had a Christmas tree right on the front. And on the inside, it said, "Merry Christmas to all my ho ho ho's."
Wow. Yeah, that's
Now, I get this might have been funny. You're thinking about it one night, but this took some time and effort. I mean, you had to buy the outfit, you had to pose and either take the picture yourself or have someone take it. You got cards printed, you wrote messages in them, and at no point did it cross your mind that, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do this.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have you come back on another episode. We'll just strictly do stories from Laurie. That's actually even got a good ring to it. So that would be hilarious. Because, Linda Rufinek is our CFO now, fractional CFO. She ran Accent Marketing. It was $100 million a year marketing agency back in the day. And she tells me, she's like, DJ, the Me Too movement happened for a reason. The girls now think that it's bad because like they get passed up for a promotion or something. She's like, but back then, I mean, it was bad. And they were a publicly traded company at one point, and like they had to remove the CEO because they found out some stuff that was unbecoming of an officer of the company. And thankfully for the ladies, we've come a long way from that stuff. But gosh, man, it's. Yeah, I'm sure you have a treasure trove of viral stories that we could share on social. So
I have to have a locked, like it was password protected for all of my files just because of some of the content that would be in some of the investigations that I had to deal with. You didn't want somebody just,
right. You walk in, you look at the Christmas cards, you call home office like, hey, my investigation's done. Yeah, we got a case here. Like,
yep, yep.
so let's see here. How do you balance business growth with your taking a hard right turn? How do you balance business growth with your community involvement and service? You guys are expanding, you're rolling in. It sounds like you got a parent company that's maybe bought into you guys. So, like, how do you keep balance between serving in the community versus, paper chasing and growing the business?
Yeah. Well, I mean, both Mike and I mean, we have always believed in servant leadership. We love the community that we're in. We feel an obligation, both personally and professionally, to find ways to give back. Now, both of my kids are grown, so that does give me a little more time than when they were. I've got a 20-year-old who's up at IU as a junior, and my daughter's down at Auburn getting her master's now. So I don't have all the kids' sports and activities, but even when we did, we think it's important. I think you've got to have some type of a balance, and I think you have to be a good corporate citizen. And if you're going to be in a community and expect a community to support your business, you've got to find ways to support the community. So we, as a company as a whole, at least once a quarter, if not more, we will have our staff or anyone that wants to. During work hours, we take them out to volunteer. So we've gone to Dare to Care, and we've, prepared foods that were going out either to, their elder care deliveries or their after school programs. We Every year we do Habitat for Humanity. We've done 3 build days this year, so we take our staff out, we take our clients out with us, and we spend a day out there. And it's a win-win. We are given to the community. We are spending time with our staff, with our clients. And honestly, I would rather spend a day swinging a hammer and building a house with a client to get them to know them than go to yet another business luncheon or dinner where we're going to sit there and bid on the silent auction. Those things are fun too, but you can make more of a connection that way. We reach out to our staff and what do you believe in? So we do drives. We had one of our employees' granddaughter was in the NICU. Down at Norton's Children's. So we did a drive here to collect things. She saw firsthand what the families needed there. So we push that out. We do that. I've always served on boards. Probably initially, when I was a baby lawyer, the firm pushed me to do that to start to meet people. But when you start serving on boards on things that you believe in, that you care about, and you meet like minded people, to me, it's uplifting. It's not having to make the time to do it, it's getting to make the time.
Mm.
Me a better person, a more balanced person, a happier and more content person, which I think makes me a better boss, a better leader here in the company.
I love that. I love that. No, that's it's great. I can tell that it came from the heart as well, which is important. I talk about this all the time. Our core values are growth, innovation, velocity, and excellence, and so it spells out an acronym of GIVE. And so, like once a quarter, we do stuff with Family Scholar House that we enjoy doing. My favorite is probably the ice cream social. We just like pull up, rent an ice cream truck, blare music, have bubbles and water guns, and it's so cool to get to see the kids come out and work with them. And reverse trick or treating is probably my second favorite that we do with them. But Anne Marie on our team is very much involved, in Southern Indiana, and I think I've got an event tomorrow night that I'm going to that she's helped put on for Habitat and Hard Hats, and so I just that's it. There you go, perfect. So to me, you know, I think it's so important, and also like I give selfishly, and like a lot of times people are like, "What?" And I'm like, "Dude, I get way more out of giving than the person on the receiving end." And then whether it's karma or God or whatever you believe in, like man, the more I give, the better my life gets. It's like you pour back into others, and it seems like the universe pours back into you. Do you see that happen for you guys as well?
I absolutely see that happen. If you don't mind, I'll give an example. So a few years back, New Albany Housing Authority, I saw something on Facebook. They were starting a youth engagement program. So Tim Langford, Romeo Langford, if you follow basketball around here, he was a prodigy that went to New Albany, ended up playing at IU, went to the pros. So it's Romeo's dad, Tim, started this program. It's within the housing authority, and it was for children that were school age up into middle school. And saw it and thought, well, they're starting this program. I'll go up there. Maybe we'll volunteer once a month. I went up there and met these kids. The first time I went up there, took two of my staff with me. So three of us went in there. And here's Tim, and he had 25 kids, ages 5 to 13. And he's the only one there with these kids. And I mean, I'm just looking like, how are you doing this? Well, those kids, they wanted attention and love and someone to talk to them. He would, give them a snack, help them with their homework, teach them, you know, life, how to look somebody in the eye and say hello, to shake a hand, to tell time, to sign their name. But then they'd play games and they do really fun stuff. And literally, we were an hour and a half in, and I've got, one kid holding my hand, pulling me this one, and the other one's hugging me, and this one's yelling, Miss. And I mean, I've got the biggest grin. I'm so uplifted. I'm like, Tim, I am in. I am all in. And that was in 2019. And, we've been going there weekly with them, and we've watched these kids
Wow.
grow, and we've seen their successes that they've had. Some of them are now in high school, and they're doing all these amazing things. And it is, I can be having a stressful day and think, I do not have time to leave early and go there, get out there and get up there by 3 o'clock. I have work to do, but I'm like, nope, I'm gonna go. And I get up there and I'm like, thank goodness this is amazing. And I walk out of there, I think they feel really good, but I think I feel 10 times better than they do, because you just get so much poured back into you. We do a Valentine's Day party and Halloween party and Christmas party. We do a toy drive and take it up there, and they, everybody gets and you watch these kids get these presents, and it's unreal. And yeah, I get so much more than I give.
I love it. I love it. To me, I think there's a responsibility for successful people to send the elevator back down and to help others out. It's one of the reasons why I do this podcast, why I put out so much information around entrepreneurship on my social media platforms. It's why I wrote the book, The Hunter Head Game. I know that this thing drops in October, so about a month from now, actually. And I just know that, like, all of the good that I can put back in the world. I also truly believe that entrepreneurs solve all the problems. You can't wait for the government to show up and save you. Entrepreneurs build the way. And so
Well, if you
thank
can
you
get
so
that
much
in
for
front of a 15, 16-year-old, trying to figure out life, hear your story. College isn't the path for everybody. There's so many opportunities, that are out there for people. And to have someone willing to share their story is remarkable. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Lori, if someone's interested, in maybe having you guys do some closing work for them, or maybe they just want to reach out to you, maybe you've inspired them, or maybe they heard where you're volunteering and they want to come do that as well. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Sure. You can call any of our offices. I'll give you my office here in Jeff, but they all will ring to any of them. But 812-800-9120. You can find us at Momentum Closings with an S, Momentum closings.com. You can get there, or you can just shoot me an email at Laurie, Laurie.Kemp, KEMP at Momentum Closings. Would love to help anybody out. If you go to our website, all the ways to contact us, some really cool toolbars to help people if they want to look at what rates are, see our fees, all that kind of stuff.
Very
And some
cool.
good
Very
pictures of
cool.
some of the places we volunteer too. You can see the Momentum Cares page will show you some of those kiddos I was talking about.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, guys, if you haven't left a review or shared an episode before, please do so. If you're watching this on any of the major social media platforms on video format, share it out to your audience, share it to your friends group. If you're listening to this on one of the podcast platforms, please leave us a review. It helps us get in front of more entrepreneurs, and the more entrepreneurs we help, the better the world becomes. So until next time, this has been another episode of The Sales Factory. I'm your host, Coach Carroll. Hustle, it's worth it.